Hello, kittens. My name is Roxanne Ryan, and I am super excited to be talking with you today a little bit about self-sabotage and what that means and what that can look like to us and the things that we experience on a day-to-day basis. So let's get into it. Before we really dive deep, I want to talk a little bit about something that is very close to my heart. Yes, we are in March and it is getting close to kitten season. Yes, kitten season is a thing. When it is warmer outside, cats, that is like their main mating season, and it's easier to pop those little guys out, which can be problematic in sense because the shelters become flooded with kittens. People will find kittens out and bring them into shelters and thinking that they're doing the best thing for them, but sometimes it can be kittens who maybe were only abandoned by their mother because they were worried about the person and might be coming back, or maybe you snagged up kittens and you dropped them off at a shelter because you didn't know what else to do, and a lot of those times those kittens become euthanized if there are not enough people lined up like me, like fosters, who take them in and care for them. Neonatal kittens and puppies are the most vulnerable population because they require such extensive care, like around-the-clock feedings, and they need help going to the bathroom. Their immune systems are not super great if they didn't have a mama cat, so they aren't getting that first little dose of health that can boost their immunity. Why can't I remember what it's called? I'm gonna have to look it up. It's gonna stress me out. They don't get their first little dosage of their immune boost, so they are more prone to illness, and all around it's just not a pleasant time, and a lot of shelters don't have the resources to care for these little guys, so they rely heavily on people coming in to help and be a helping hand in that. So that's where I step in, and I have loved it so much. Basically, you become a little mama to kittens, and you show them how to be a cat. You help teach them how to groom. You feed them. You teach them how to play and hunt. And it's a really rewarding experience, but it can definitely be overwhelming. This is actually my foster room / dance studio, which is really fun. I don't have any kittens yet. Okay, that's a lie. I do have one foster kitten right now, but she is already, she's got her forever home lined up. We are just waiting till we can transfer her over. And then I'm going to take a very small break, and then kind of just been waiting until around April to get my first little batch in, but it's getting warmer faster, quicker than usual, so it's going to probably start a lot sooner, and I will have some maybe in the next time. So there will be kittens running around in the next episodes throughout the summer, and it's going to be really fun. And hopefully I can just show you guys a little bit about in my world. And honestly, they're so sweet and cute that even if you don't care to foster, you can at least get a little dose of them and watch me feed them. They're really soothing. It's really awesome to come home sometimes and you've had a hard day and you can just go lay on the floor and just be surrounded by kittens. It's actually my dream come true. So as much as it is tiring and mentally taxing sometimes and can be really heavy-hearted, but also so much joy, so much love, and it can just be such a great experience. So I'm excited for you to dive into that with me. What I really want to discuss on Healing the Unhinged is just talking about the different things that I experience on a day-to-day basis or on a weekly basis that just make me feel feral, or any mental health type of issue that I face that week. I want to talk about it with you guys because I know there's so many of us who struggle with things, but we don't always talk about them, or we don't always let ourselves feel them, and then they build up into anxiety and stress in our bodies, and it's good for us to have support systems and to talk about this. So I hope by sharing my stories that I can be something relatable to you, or maybe something maybe you could never put words to that maybe you experience, or you might have someone in your life that struggles with these kind of things. So if there's also ever any topics that you want discussed, I always want you guys to write in and say I would just really love your take on this, or this is something I deal with, because I bet you're not alone and there's so many other people who struggle with the exact same thing. Which ties in perfectly to self-sabotage. So what is self-sabotaging? Well, self-sabotaging is when you are participating in destructive behavior. It can be something that impacts your day-to-day life, your mental well-being, your physical well-being, your career, your finances, your dreams, your goals, anything, your relationships. It's not looking out for you in your best interest, and instead just diving deeper down the rabbit hole and creating a worse scenario for yourself. That's my definition. A lot of people self-sabotage. You probably don't even realize that you're doing it. It's probably subconscious to you. Or maybe you're very conscious about the way you're self-sabotaging. So I kind of want to talk just about... So I would love to dive into a couple of different examples of it, and we can kind of break it down together and just go through if you deal with it, or how we can stop it, and why do we do this to ourselves. I think ultimately we do it because we don't feel worthy. We don't feel deserving of good things. I think we get in a rut, or we are really down, and again with the we don't face our emotions, we don't face the things that we struggle with, so we just put them at the back of our priority list, and then it just wells up, and one day like you're anxious, you're depressed, or you feel crazy, or you're having a mental breakdown and you self-destruct because it's easier to deal with it that way. And when in reality, it's not. It actually makes it a lot harder. It's ultimately how we handle our experiences that we face as human beings. It's a lack of having proper coping mechanisms. It's usually a coping mechanism that's not good for you. So here's some examples. There's drug abuse or substance abuse, drinking, sex, toxic relationships, whether you keep getting into them or staying in them when you shouldn't be. I'm guilty of that 100%. Financially, shopping to fill the void, self-harm, refusal of mental health support. So if you have a friend or family member who might be struggling and they keep pushing you away and they're like, nah, I can't handle it, or maybe you do that yourself, that's also a form of self-sabotage. Isolating yourself, or all in all just neglecting your well-being because of something that is emotionally destroying you. A lot of examples I like to use are, of course, ones that I've been through. For me, growing up, I just went into relationship after relationship. I think I was doing that to fill a hole and to fill a void. For some reason, I thought relationships were what going to make me feel whole and make me feel cared about and feel worthy of love and deserving. And because I was getting into relationships for those reasons, I didn't have the best judgment. It was more of who was giving me the attention. And I did that to myself for a long time. And learning and discovering that, hey, like, you're doing that. Sometimes it's not easy. It's not easy to catch yourself sometimes. There's so many intricate versions of self-sabotaging, and everyone probably has something different. I think a really big universal one would be drinking. You have a long day. What do you want to do? Come home? Like, I'm having some wine right now. It's nice. You want to have a long rest and just decompress from your day. But there's a difference in doing that versus going on a binger because you don't want to handle your problems and you just want to forget, or you want to numb the pain. And then it's like you are in so much emotional distress that you want to drink it away and numb the pain, and then your future self will deal with it. That's usually what we tell ourselves. You know you're going to be self-destructing when your brain's like, I'm already down, so I might as well keep going. Like, I'm already at this point, so I might as well. That's a really good indicator that that's what you're doing to yourself, and letting your future self deal with the consequences of that. And instead of doing that, it's good to try to look out for your future self. And ultimately, I think the big root issue that you need to look at when facing this is, why do I not feel worthy enough to be taken care of? Why do I feel like I deserve suffering? Why do I feel like I am not worthy of love? Why do I feel like I deserve these bad things to happen to me? Why don't I want to handle my emotions or think about the things that are eating me alive? And a lot of times we have patterns. So maybe you're more prone to being stressed. You have a really big meeting coming up, so you know that you're going to just be anxious, and so you start drinking more. But you're sabotaging yourself by having a binger to just relax. And you sabotage yourself by having a binger or drinking more often and eating bad foods, and then you're sluggish and don't feel as mentally able and capable when it's the time for your meeting because you worked yourself up. Does that kind of make sense? A good example I like to use for myself is, I am a super anxious person. Like, I grew up so anxious. Like severe panic attacks constantly, and I still deal with it sometimes. I never knew how to handle them. And I think, honestly, I would make them worse by doing certain things. So I had to learn, like, okay, what's going to set me off? What's going to make me anxious? And maybe I should avoid those things instead of creating a rabbit hole. And two, like, I was so nervous about something not working because it already felt to me like I was foreign and had, like, I was just this weirdo that suffered with this, and I didn't know anyone else that did. So I was too scared to try things that I would read and be like, oh, like they said, like, my example is cold water. I had a trip to Nashville for a bachelorette party with my best friend, and I had, like, the worst panic attack in downtown Nashville. Like, we're walking on the strip, having a good time, and I just panic. One, I think it's just being around a lot of people. Two, it was humid and kind of rainy and gross, so the air was just thick. My allergies were bad, so I already felt constricted and like I couldn't breathe. And if you've never had any panic attack before, you feel like you're dying. Like, you straight up think things are going to shit, like, so fast. So I felt like I couldn't breathe, and then the little bit of air I was getting, it smelled like vomit and piss everywhere. From, I guess, everyone's festivities the night before. And so I was like, I'm gonna die here. Like, this is it. So what I did was I asked them to get me a water, and I went straight to the bathroom and I just poured cold water on my wrist. I'd never tried it before, but I always saw it and I was desperate. Lo and behold, it worked. Like, yeah, it took a little bit, but cold water on the back of your neck or on your wrist is supposed to, like, shock your nervous system and calm it down. And I've always been too scared to try it. I didn't want it to not work, and then me feel like I was helpless and just weird, I guess. And I was self-destructing sometimes when I was having anxiety because I would have them just for hours. And I took a 2-hour-long panic attack and turned it into a 5-minute one because I actually took care of myself. Does that kind of make sense? And now to this day, I use it all the time. I had a panic attack before. I took a heels class the other day at my studio I work at. And parts of me was like, let's just go get a drink. We'll go walk to one of the restaurants nearby, and it's gonna make you calm down. Because I hate being anxious around people, especially in public. Like, having a panic attack in public is probably, like, the worst thing, and it can set me off and make me want to have more panic attacks. But I was like, well, you're going to be weird and awkward anyway, so you might as well go get a drink and, like, loosen up. And I know from past experience that alcohol and anxiety do not mix well together, and nor should I be doing that. And this was the first time I listened to myself and was like, girl, don't go get a drink. That's not going to make you feel better. It's going to make things a lot worse. So instead, I just went in there and I got a cold water and I splashed it on myself and I calmed down. And it was better. Yeah, I had the after effects of, like, headaches and upset stomach and all that fun stuff, but, like, I looked out for myself and I chose not to self-destruct and be like, well, it's okay, I can drink because I'm anxious, or it's okay, I can go ahead and do that. It's just because I'm whatever. And it's not. And this was really the first time I was like, oh, I looked out for myself in that scenario. And this can go towards anything. It could be there's so many things that we do to distract ourselves from the things that we're experiencing, our escapism, like video games and social media. How many times do you go doom scroll because you're bored, or you should be doing something else and procrastinating, and so you're resting, quote unquote, if you're not watching, I just did finger air quotes, and you're resting, but in reality you're only causing yourself more stress and panic because you're just blasting your brain with random information and dopamine that you don't need. There's so many other natural things that you can do to give yourself that. There was a lot of things that I used to do, and they can result in spirals. When I was in cheerleading, I was obsessed. It was my everything. My whole entire worth and well-being had to do with cheerleading. And it was like a punish reward system with me, but there was not really ever any reward. My reward was being good or getting a compliment from your coach, but the punishment was so much, like I just tore myself apart all the time for no reason. If I did bad that day, or I dropped my stunts, or I had an off day, or I didn't tumble, I had a really big mental block, so if I didn't throw it or get over my mental block in one day, I was like gonna starve myself or self-harm or do whatever because I was not worthy of good praise. Like, it was like, you did bad, and I put that upon myself. I don't know why. It was just, it meant so much to me, and I'm really realizing more now how unhealthy that was. And I can tell that it's transferring into me taking dance classes right now, because I know I'm not the best, and so I'm having to learn and start from scratch, and I can feel myself slip into tendencies of, one, being anxious to go to classes because I'm not as good as everyone else. I'm scared to be seen. I'm scared to be seen being not as good. So I work myself up and create a worse mental headspace for me going into these classes versus just being like, hey, it's fine. Go train. Go have a good time. But I take it so seriously. I'm like, everyone's going to think you're stupid. Everyone's going to think that you're awful. Why are you here? And I want that to stop. That's probably the next thing that I do that is causing me the most pain. I think with terms of drinking or doing things like that, I think I've replaced all of my coping mechanisms with good ones. And let me just tell you, from being on that side, it's so amazing to love yourself and look out for yourself and then feel looked out for the next day. It can just make you feel confident. Like, sabotaging yourself is not good. Like, picking yourself apart, tearing yourself down is not helping you achieve your goals. Like, what is it serving you? And the next time that you are in this spiral and you catch yourself about to do something, like, ask yourself, like, is this benefiting me? Is this going to benefit me tomorrow? What would my little kid self think of this right now? Like, would they want me to do it? And thinking of that little version of yourself in any scenario that you're facing, like, if that helps, do it. Or think about if you have kids, or if you ever want kids one day, like, what would you want them to do? Would you tell them to go self-destruct? Would you tell them to go on a binger because they're upset, or tear themselves apart because they didn't do as good as they think they should have? Like, think about it from a different lens and from a different perspective, because it's really easy to pick on ourselves, but we wouldn't necessarily pick on somebody else. People do, but you know what I mean. If you are looking to stop being in this feedback loop, this negative feedback loop, then you definitely need to pick something or find something to replace it. So we're just going to keep using drinking because I think it's one everyone can relate to. Instead of ignoring your emotions and going and drinking, maybe we go for a walk. Maybe you journal. Maybe you write about it. Dancing. Maybe you go work out. Find a positive way to go and move. I will always say movement is the best thing for your mental space and your mental headspace. It just makes you have clarity and makes you feel better, and it releases any kind of tension or bad energy in your body. But it could be so many other things, like fostering. I'm not telling you have to foster, but being around animals. I'm huge on animals being good for your mental health. Like fostering and being just with my cats keeps me so in the moment and so grounded. So think about that with your dog, or I don't know, you got guinea pigs, fish, but like they teach you how to be present and they teach you how to be with them right then and there. Like how many times do you not play with your pet? Or don't take them on a walk that day? And then me, I get mom guilt for sure. But, or even your children, like spend that extra time and just be with them in that moment. And same thing with going on a walk or journaling. Like make it a priority to stop everything you're doing and focus on that one thing right then and there, because you're showing up for yourself and you're showing yourself like, I'm valuable enough to be paid attention to and to be taken care of. Like, what do I need? And asking yourself, what is it that I need in this moment? What am I dealing with? And sometimes simple questions like that can make you feel heard, even if it's just talking to yourself, and just be able to understand yourself better, because your brain will give you an answer. It will. And I'm telling you right now, you don't deserve to be beating yourself up. You don't deserve the hatred that you're giving yourself. You are more than enough. You are more than capable of handling anything that comes your way. And whatever goals that you want to achieve, like what you're doing right now is not going to help you get there. I'm just going to be straight up with you. Like, don't get in your own way. No more. And I'm talking as equally to myself. I get in my way all the time. It's March and I'm finally posting this episode, or like filming it, or putting myself out there. I know how scary it can be to do something different or to have to grow, but it's so good and it's so worth it. And when you just feel good about yourself and you love yourself and you have confidence, like you're going to accomplish anything. So stop putting yourself in this little like I'm worthless pile and take yourself out of it. There's no reason for you to be in this little pity party. There's no reason. Like, you're better than that. So let's do it. Like, you're worthy of love. You're worthy of being cared for. I don't know what happened. I don't know what maybe you are going through on a day-to-day basis, but I know that you're worthy. And I know that you are amazing. So stop acting like you're not. How many of you are I haven't eaten all day, or put water in my body, or moved, but I'm on like 7 cups of coffee and I'm upset and sad and I don't know why? That's you. I'm talking to you. I kind of want to talk about sabotaging yourself in relationships for a minute, because it is something that we do. And whether it's I'm getting into bad ones because I think I'll take the love that I think I deserve, or it's I'm gonna ruin this good relationship because I don't feel like I deserve it. I really want you to ask yourself those kind of questions, and it doesn't have to just be romantic. It can be friendships. It can be being involved with people who don't respect your boundaries or respect your time. And like, take yourself out of it for a minute and imagine if someone else was telling you what was going on. And just take yourself out of it and really look at it and try to understand yourself. Like, why do I feel that way? And just keep asking yourself, like, where does that come from? Why do I feel like I'm not worthy of love? And that's the first step in awareness of, in terms of what kind of patterns do you go into? Am I more prone to getting stressed on a Tuesday? Or maybe it's, for my ladies, it's my time of the month and I feel more hormonal and I just am naturally more sad. And so I feel like I need to do whatever to make myself feel better or get through it, or you just feel depressed and doomed. And so you indulge yourself in behaviors that only make that anxiety and doom worse. Give yourself something to do to care for yourself. Like, in the terms of, oh, I know, I keep using the meeting, but let's say you have a business meeting next week. You know you're prone to getting stressed out. So how can I best take care of myself this next week to make sure that I'm okay and can handle that the right way? I'm not saying you can't go have some cocktails or you can't have a glass of wine, but I'm saying, what else can we do to care for ourselves? Like, for me, if I know I'm gonna be in a stressful situation, I make sure I'm resting. So either I let myself sleep in a little bit more if I haven't gotten enough sleep, or I will make myself go to bed early, or take a nap. If you can't do either one of those, make sure you have a nap throughout the day, because I am very affected if I don't get enough sleep, emotionally, physically, immunitally. I don't even know if that's a word. All of those things for me are affected. So if I'm well rested, that's one thing I know I can do. I'll make sure maybe I eat a little bit better. I make sure that I go on a walk to make sure each day my mental space is good. I make sure I stretch or do whatever it is that requires me the best energy and to best mentally prepare for what's going to happen. You got to look out for yourself. You got to be your own best advocate, because yeah, it's nice to have other people like look out for you, but ultimately you're the only one who knows how to truly do it. Does that make sense? It's lovely if one day you find a partner that you can tell them, like, hey, this is how I handle this is how, like, I handle stress, this is how it makes it better for me. But you can't have someone else do it for you. You have to learn what it is that makes it better so you can improve your relationships, or you can improve your career, your finances, your fitness goals, whatever it is. I believe in you, so don't stop. Don't give up. Don't give up at all, because it's not worth it to not try to achieve your dreams. You only get to go through this life once, and I hope that it's long and amazing and fulfilling, and make it the best that it can be. Like, the only thing stopping you is you. So on that note, thanks for listening. I hope that I could have motivated you or helped you see that there might be things that you are going through or struggling with, and talk to me about them. If you want to share your story or share things that maybe have helped you, please share them. I would love to hear. I would love to talk to you and just hear your voice, because your voice is valid and your story deserves to be heard. So thank you. I will see you guys next week, and I hope you all just have a fantastic day.